Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Crimson and in this video we are going to be covering the Awakening the Art of Halo 4 art book. So this is the art book for Halo 4 as you could probably infer. And also this is the first art book of the 343 era Halo games that I am going to be covering. So far we have covered the Art of Building Worlds book, which covers art from Combat Evolved 2, 3, and I believe ODST and a little bit of Reach, which are all the Bungie era games, as well as the Halo 3 art book itself. So those are the Bungie era books that I have, and this is the first of the 343 era books. I have this one, I have the Art of Halo 5, and the Art of Halo Infinite. So just before we get started, one thing, this book is split into two sections: Art of the Environments and Art of the Characters and Enemies. So we are going to be doing things a little bit out of order. We are going to be starting with the art of the characters and enemies. And then in the next part, we are going to be covering the art of the environments. So yeah, as you can see, we have this really nice kind of book sheath or cover, whatever you like to call it, of the Master Chief looking at a Forerunner installation on Requiem, which is the Forerunner world that the game takes place on. So yeah, let us get started. Sorry, let me just move my bookmark out of the way. It's actually nice having a real bookmark now. Let me zoom out a little bit, just so the book actually fits in frame. So this is the second chapter for the UNSC art. So we start off with the section of the chapter cover of a close-up of the Master Chief's visor, as well as Cortana in the background. The Master Chief's visor here is a little bit cracked, as it happens in the game after his encounter with the Didact, and we just have Cortana in the background. Cortana has gone through a lot of different designs and iterations, essentially in every Halo game. I really like the Halo 4 Cortana design. I know some people don't, but I personally do think it's quite cool. I'm hoping that I don't have to censor this, but I'm not sure, so I may end up having to re-upload this, because technically, you know, she's an AI construct, and not real, but I don't know if YouTube will agree with me on that. So let's just get started. So we start off with this really cool picture of the Chief kind of ripping off some kind of constraints that are on him. You can see that his visor is cracked completely after his encounter with the Didact compared to the little dent in the first one. And his armor appears to be white in some parts, so I'm assuming this is the covering on the armor that the Chief is currently tearing off his armor. So we start off with the man himself, the Master Chief. So Halo 4 marks the most radical distinction between the different variations of armor of the Master Chief. The real reason is that while the Chief was in cryosleep, the nanomachines in his armor performed countless upgrades, which is why his suit is a lot different. I am kind of torn on the design. It is definitely not the best depiction of the Master Chief. In my opinion, the Halo 3 Chief is the best. But this one it's okay. It's not good, it's not bad, but it's passable. So we have a couple of black and white pictures here of what appears to be Chief in various different designs, maybe throughout some of the different games. Like this one looks a lot like the Halo 2 and 3 Chief. This one looks like the Halo 3 Chief, but I'm assuming these are all different concept arts. Here is a picture that I believe was used in some of the marketing of the Master Chief holding the railgun. The railgun is a new weapon that first appeared in Halo 4 and is actually one of the better new additions to the weapon arsenal in the Halo games. I really, really like the railgun. Then over here we have the Chief in a black and white picture. His armor looks quite different in this one. It appears to be almost like a fusion between the Halo 3 armor and the Halo 4 armor. And he is holding the assault rifle in this one. So here is a really good detailed, almost 3D render portion of the Chief. This almost looks like what they would have worked with in Blender. So we see the Chief from all different angles. So start up here, we have two different concept arts of the Chief's armor. This one on the left looks a little bit different, especially his helmet. But then over here, we just have the Chief's armor as we see in the game. So this is him at the very start of Halo 4. As you can see, his visor is still intact here, and he still has that little bit of scuff or plasma burn on his right chest piece. And there's close-ups of his leg armor and his shin guards, which are really, really cool. One thing that I do actually really like about the Halo 4 Armor Chief, compared to the Bungie era games, is his boots. They look a lot more heavy duty and they fit a lot more with the kind of bulk that a Spartan 2 would have for his foot armor, which is quite cool. Then over here we have the back of the Chief, showing some of the different armor. You can see that it actually says UNSC here on the back of his waist armor. Up here we have two more different designs for the Chief. In this one, he is dual wielding magnums, and in this one, it looks like he's dual wielding SMGs, which is quite cool. And then here we have two close-ups of his hands armor. Quite cool. I really like the details that, there's individual knuckle armor as well for all of his fingers, and then the main plate for his hand. Here we have Cortana. Also, I should probably just say I am not going to be reading that many of the text bits pertaining to the development of the game, but I will be reading the text pertaining to the lore and information about the characters. So this one, it says, in addition to the Master Chief's trials, his AI companion Cortana faces her own dilemma. Early in the project, the team started to plan ahead for the sagas. Cortana's rampancy was always a big beat. This image tries to capture her struggles. So this is Cortana, and as it says, this is her in rampancy. So you can see that she looks very distressed in both this picture and this picture. She is kind of holding her head, so it looks like she's almost having a bit of a the AI version of a migraine or something. Just for a quick little lore tidbit, what rampancy is that the UNSC smart AIs have a lifespan of 7 years, and after 7 years, they begin to degrade and eventually go rampant. And what rampancy is, it means they think themselves to death and kind of start to go rogue, which is why they don't die, but they are decommissioned and essentially deleted or shut down by the UNSC. So at this point in the game, when we awake at the start of Halo 4, Cortana is, I believe she is 8 or 9 years old. I might be wrong about that. I think she's 8 actually. So she's 1 year past her expiry date, for want of a better term. But she has also been infected by the Logic Plague from being left on High Charity and being tortured by the Gravemind, which has added to the effects of her rampancy, kind of making it much more serious than it may normally be. So the main plot, or the main plot line of the game, is to try and get back to Earth so that Halsey can fix Cortana, as Chief does not want to lose Cortana. Here we have a picture of the Chief with Cortana in the background. She looks very different in this one. She's kind of laying down, almost as if she's fallen down. Her expression is actually quite interesting. She looks kind of very, I don't know how to say it, maybe antagonistic towards Chief. Maybe she's angry at him or suspicious of him, which is kind of the deal with rampancy. You know, they go insane basically, so they start doing things that they wouldn't normally do or act in ways they wouldn't normally do. Then here we have multiple concept arts of both Cortana's design as well as the way her rampancy would manifest in terms of her appearance. So most of these just have different types of hairstyles. So in this one, she actually has some clothing on, which is very similar to the weapon in Halo Infinite. And she has a massive kind of double braided hairstyle here. This one looks really cool with all of the red effects glowing around her, kind of showing the corruption in her files. I'm not sure what this hairstyle is called, but it looks quite cool. Here she's essentially naked as she is in the main game, but she has long hair that is covering her chest, so maybe this might have been an attempt to try and censor her a little bit with this hairstyle, and it would have maybe been cool to see that after 7 years, for want of a better term, she let her like hair grow despite not actually having hair, just kind of showing that time has passed, and that due to the rampancy, she isn't kind of maintaining her normal appearance in the game. And then here we have 2 more pictures with different types of rampancy shown. I really like this one with the kind of blocky look. Very cyberpunk in my opinion. And I think it looks fantastic. Then here we have some more pictures of Cortana. So here is her in extreme distress. She's obviously in a lot of pain in this one. Again, holding her head. Here is another depiction of Cortana, similar to how we saw the style of the Chief in the almost Blender-esque term or style. And then here is Cortana with different hairstyles. So she has a lot shorter hair here. She has kind of a shorter hairstyle, but much more disheveled in both of these. I probably am actually going to have to censor this. I do apologize. And then here we have some different concept arts of how she is looking and how she's kind of transforming into a much more aggressive version of herself. I'm not sure if this is concept art or maybe storyboarding, but yeah. So here we have the Spartans. So this is not necessarily the Chief himself. This is just different types of Spartans. So these are a lot of Spartans that we see in the multiplayer with the different armor permutations. So this Spartan here is holding a knife. This one here is also has a knife, but his helmet is the scanner helmet. It's not the best looking helmet, but it is definitely a very cool design. It reminds me a lot of the pilot's headgear from Halo Combat Evolved. And then here we just have some different art of some Spartans with different types of armor sets and permutations. This helmet here, I cannot remember the name of this helmet, but it looks very similar to one of the starting helmets. I believe it's the recruit helmet in Halo 4. but I may be wrong about that. This helmet here looks like a prototype of the Gungnir helmet, which is the helmet that I always wear in these games. And then over here we have another picture of a Spartan. So this is not the chief, but this is just another Spartan. I'm presuming that this is a Spartan 4 due to their prevalence and first appearance in Halo 4. But I could be wrong. This actually could be a Spartan 2 because he looks quite bulky and very large, which is kind of the trademark of the Spartan 2s. Here we have an amazing picture. So we have the Master Chief punching an elite into the ground, and you can see that there's blood flying out from his mouth. His teeth are cracked. There's actually a tooth that's fallen out here. It looks like one of his jaws has been dislocated, which, yeah, I cannot imagine that being punched full force by any Spartan, let alone the Master Chief, would result in anything less than a fatality, especially a punch to the head. So I'm assuming that this elite is dead here, or at least in the process of dying. Here's some more concept art of some of the different helmets that we see in the game. This one here is the most noticeable. This is the Scout armor. So this armor set first appeared in Halo 3 and is one of my favorite armor sets in Halo. Really, really cool. And then here we have some different permutations of almost back gear, which I believe, it's been a while since I've played Halo 4 multiplayer. I don't believe you're able to customize your Spartan's back. I believe that was only introduced in Halo Infinite. And then later on in the MCC as well. But some of these are quite cool. This is like an almost additional armor plating on his back with two almost like carry handles. And then this maybe might be like a jetpack or some kind of thruster system for Zero-G. And then here we have some of the different leg armor. Leg armor is in Halo 4, and I believe it made its debut in Halo 4. I know in Halo Reach you could customize the accessory on your legs, but I don't... Oh, sorry, and also the knee pads, but not the full leg armor itself. So it is really cool. Here we have a picture of the Chief as well as a Spartan in the Rogue armor. So this is one of the armors that you get through essentially the like mini prestige system, where you go through and unlock different armor sets and also gain an additional ability for each one. So it is very cool. Halo 4 introduced a lot of like perks and stuff. They're not called perks, but they are essentially perks from the Call of Duty series. And every time you complete one of these armor types, which you finish completing it and unlock the next one after every 10 levels, you get a new perk, I believe. It's either a new perk or a new passive ability, I can't remember which one. And then here we have a picture of, so this is the Chief here, and then we have two other members of Blue Team. This is actually the updated cover for one of the Halo books. I believe this is the updated cover for the Fall of Reach. However, I am not quite sure. It's either the Fall of Reach or First Strike. When I read the books, both physical copies and on Audible, they still had the original art, which was taken from Halo Combat Evolved. So yeah, quite cool that they did update the cover with the newer armor. But personally, as much as this picture really does look cool and goes quite hard, I like the charm of the original covers just having essentially assets from Halo Combat Evolved. Next up, we have the Marines. So it says, when designing the soldiers, he wanted to make a clear distinction between them, the Spartans and the ODSTs. One way was to use a very different color palette and variety in materials. That is very interesting because ODSTs do not appear in Halo 4. There are Marines that have faceplates, like these two soldiers here, but the ODST does not make an appearance in Halo 4, or if they do, they are not wearing the standard ODST armor. So this is one of the heavy Marines that we see, and then here we have some concept arts of different types of Marines. So these two look kind of ODST-esque, but not quite. It's almost like this one. If this guy had a full visor, he would look like an ODST. This soldier and this soldier look like medics with the red and white color scheme. And then here we have some of the different headgear. So this is the headgear that is the standard for the Marines in Halo 4. And then here is the headgear for the heavy Marines, which have the kind of face mask with a little bit of a visor. Yeah, the visor here actually reminds me of the visor of the Death Trooper from Star Wars. I have a helmet replica of one of them, and it's a very similar visor shape. Also for maybe something more Halo related, very similar to the EOD visor from Halo Reach. But yeah, let's continue. So here we have some of the medical staff that we see on one of the later missions, where we are essentially on board a UNSC facility. And then here we have some different art of, I'm not sure who this is supposed to be. I'm not sure who this character is in the game. This one here looks kind of similar to Miranda Keyes, but yeah, I'm not sure who this is supposed to be. If anyone knows, please let me know in the comments, because I genuinely would like to know. But the armor shown here is very, very cool. Then here we have some artwork of just the standard Marines. So we have a standard Marine, a heavy Marine, another type of heavy Marine, and then these two are just concept arts of Marine. I believe this one does not actually show up in the game. Here is some of the fleet officers. So these are the officers that we see on board the UNSC Infinity. So here is like a standard officer. This guy here looks very similar to the armor that is worn by Captain Lasky. The shoulder pad in particular is almost identical. And then here is just a close-up of a face and the hat worn by one of the officers, because remember, the UNSC is part of the Navy, so it makes sense that the uniforms for the officers are more Navy-inspired rather than Marine-inspired. And then down here, so what we have here is a, actually, I'm not quite sure which one is which, I apologize. This looks like a Spartan 4. This guy is a Marine. This guy looks like a Spartan 4. This guy is a Marine. And this guy, I can't tell if he's a Spartan 4 or a Marine. Really, really cool either way. The Spartan 4s are the newest iteration of the Spartans, which are the weakest type of Spartan. They are essentially just ODSTs that have gone through the augmentation. And Halsey even makes a note of this in the Spartan Ops storyline, where she says something along the lines of, the armor alone does not make you a Spartan. And she even says flat out, like, you guys are not Spartans. My Spartans are Spartans. Because she had zero involvement in the Spartan 4 project, and also the Spartan 3 project, but that's neither here nor there. So here is some of the weaponry that we see in the Halo 4 game for the UNSC. So we have the the SMG, which first made its appearance in Halo 2, the assault rifle. The Halo 4 assault rifle is actually one of my favorite depictions of it. I think it is so cool. It is very powerful as well as looking very sleek, and a definite upgrade to the design compared to the Halo 3 one, despite it still looking very similar. Here is the battle rifle, which has not been seen since Halo 3. It was not in Halo Reach, and it looks quite different than it did in Halo 3. It looks a lot blockier compared to the more sleek design shown in Halo 3 and Halo 2. Here's the Spartan Laser. It looks very similar in design to what we see in Halo 3 and Reach. However, it appears to be more grey in the game than green as it was in the previous games. This is the DMR, my personal favorite weapon. So the DMR first made its appearance in Halo Reach. It was the BR's replacement. This is the shotgun. So this is the first real step away from the typical Halo shotgun design. It is quite cool. However, personally, I much prefer the standard Halo shotgun. And I'm not even going to mention the Halo Infinite shotgun because, yeah, we just don't talk about that. So here is the railgun, which we saw earlier that the Chief was holding. This is an almost like a miniature, a weaker version of the Spartan Laser. It is also a charge-up weapon that fires high, powerful explosive ammo, which is shown here. It is great for dealing with both heavy infantry, such as elites, and also light vehicles, such as ghosts and some warthogs. Really cool, and I really like how it shows here that it actually, here's like the cartridge that's loading in, and then here's the cartridge with the round that it shoots. Here is the sticky detonator, which made its appearance in Halo 4. Not the best weapon. It's almost just like a little sticky grenade launcher, like it says. It's almost Halo 4's version of the grenade launcher from Halo Reach, however, not nearly as powerful, though it is quite cool, and I'm always keen to see new weapons in these games, even if they are not the best. Then here we have the Magnum that we see in Halo 4. The Halo 4 Magnum, the first-person view of it is not the best, however, it is quite powerful. So it's sticking to the tradition of the Halo Magnums being really powerful. Halo 2 and Halo 3 did not do this. Halo Reach was kind of a return to form for the Magnum, and then Halo 4 continued that. And then here we have some of the turrets that we see throughout the game. So the turrets are like mounted machine guns, which are very powerful. So next up is the UNSC vehicles. So we start off with the Mammoth. So the Mammoth, it says here, the Mammoth's crew capacity and armaments make it one of the most powerful ground assets ever designed by humans. So the Mammoth is the Halo 4 version of the Elephant tank from Halo 3. However, the Mammoth is much more powerful. It has first off, it has a main weapon on the top. It has a vehicle bay which holds about 3 warthogs and a full armory on its lower level, with all sorts of weapons, from your standard weapons like assault rifles and battle rifles to more heavy-duty stuff like rocket launchers, sniper rifles, and Spartan lasers. So we only see this vehicle once in the game, and it's essentially just a set-piece vehicle, which is very unfortunate. I wish we got to see more of this vehicle in the series. Here are some different concept arts of the Mammoth that we see. This one looks much more almost benign compared to the other weapon versions, which look more militaristic. We see different versions of its cannon in various locations as well as various designs. The cannon that it has is a anti-aircraft, anti-vehicle weapon. It is used for stuff like phantoms and wraiths and other heavy-duty Covenant vehicles. Next we have the Warthog. So the Warthog is the quintessential Halo vehicle. The Warthog is one of the few vehicles to make an appearance in every single Halo game. So the version that we see here is the transport version of the Warthog, or the civilian version of the Warthog. So this version does not have a turret. It just has almost like a cargo bay, or somewhere where troops can sit. Oh, one thing I forgot to say, sorry. Here is a size comparison of the Master Chief compared to the Mammoth, so you just really get a sense of how massive this thing is. Like, its wheels alone are about 4 times the size of the Chief, and the Chief is like 7.5 feet tall in his armor, which is crazy. So back to the Warthog. Lots of different concept arts of the Hog here. Some of them are really cool. We see much more kind of streamlined, sleek versions, much more rugged versions. These two here don't even have front windows. They just kind of have more heavy armor plating, so maybe this is more of an armored version of the Warthog. And then down here we have some more different depictions of the Warthog. This one here in the middle, and so does this one here, actually look a lot like the Cybertruck made by Tesla, which I think is just really, really funny, because I've seen that vehicle has been compared to the Halo Warthog so many times. And then here we have a very detailed close-up of the inside of the Warthog, which is so cool to see. So there's the steering wheel, all of the different gauges, the pedals. I believe this is the clutch. I'm not sure if this is the clutch, based on I have zero knowledge of cars in real life, so if you're a fan of cars and I'm wrong about this, you are probably screaming at me right now, and I do apologize. And then here are some more concept arts of the interior. Seeing a close-up art of the interior of the Warthog is so cool, for me personally at least, just because stuff like this is essentially the reason I buy art books. And seeing especially something as loved as the Warthog in this amount of detail is so cool. Next we have the Mantis. So the Mantis is the mech that is introduced in Halo 4. It is quite powerful, however, in my personal opinion, it's not as powerful as it should be, or how it looks it should be. So it has a kind of autocannon on one arm, and then a rocket launcher or a missile launcher which fires multiple missiles that do decent damage, not the best, but if you hit all 4 missiles, they definitely can do some real damage. So this is the Mantis as it appears in the game. And then down here we have some different concept arts of the Mantis. So we see very, very different versions of it here. If you are a fan of the Armored Core games, which I am, a lot of these look like Armored Cores, which is so cool. And especially like this one, actually all of them do. This one here has, these two here have treads instead of legs. This one here is like a much more heavy-duty version. This one here looks almost like a really high-spec Armored Core. But yeah, I think it's really cool how they really went for an actual like mech design of it, and we also see a size comparison of the Chief compared to it. Speaking of Armored Core, I will be covering the Armored Core Fires of Rubicon art book sometime soon, as I really want to cover that, as I love Armored Core to bits. Anyway, back to Halo. Here is the drop pod that we see in the game. So quite cool. However, again, there's no ODSTs, so this would just be used for Spartan 4s and or Marines. This one has a more standard parachute compared to the ODST drop pod, which is interesting. And then here we have a packing crate, ammunitions box, and some supply containers. Here's an intact container, and here is a destroyed container. Here is the broadsword. So this is the fighter jet equivalent that we fly in the final mission of the game. Very cool vehicle. I wish we got to use it more, as it is so fun to fly and is so powerful, especially against Banshees and Forerunner turrets. Very sleek design, definitely looks very futuristic and fits right in with Halo. Halo has an awful habit of introducing amazing UNSC aircraft and then never showing them again in any games. It's like the Hornet never appeared again, the Falcon never appeared again, and the broadsword never appears again, which is awful in my opinion. I really wish there was some consistency with the UNSC's air vehicles. So the next chapter is the Covenant. So this is to do with the Covenant designs in Halo 4. Now Halo 4 has the biggest different types of art styles for the Covenant, much more than the UNSC. Some of them are good, some of them aren't quite as good. However, I don't dislike any of them, but some of them are definitely, in my opinion, inferior to the previous designs. So let's get into it. So first off, we have the Sangheili. So this is some of the different Sangheili versions and art, as well as concept art that we see in the game. So we'll start with this one here, just because this is the standard elite miner that we see in the Halo 4. So as you can see, his armor is quite different, as well as having sleeveless armor and no hand armor. And then down here we can see a picture of the Halo 4 Elite's face, as their helmet has a lot more of their face visible. Here is a bit of art of, again, the same elite miner, but just from a different design. As you can see, his shoulders are completely bare. And then here we have some of the different designs for the different ranks of the Sangheili. So I believe this is a general or a commander. This guy here looks like an officer. And then down here we have some more maybe of some of the spec ops or major elites. Down here is some concept arts of the elites, and these are so cool. So we have a kind of slimmer design white elite, so maybe this might have been an Elite Ultra. This one here has this really cool like gauntlet type of weapon with 2 energy blades. He has this black armor. This elite here has this massive white helmet and this white chest piece. It almost looks very draconic in design, as well as his massive energy sword. This elite, these 2 elites here look like they are almost in mech suits, which are quite cool. So does this elite. This elite looks like he's in a mech suit and has these 2 massive energy swords on his wrists. In Halo Reach, we saw that the elites had these small little energy blades on their wrists, whereas this guy just has full-on standard energy swords. This guy here is quite similar. However, his armor does not look to be power armor, and he also has this really cool energy shield on his chest, which is so cool. And then here we have 2 concept arts of some elite miners. These look very similar to the combat armor shown in Halo 3. None of these elites are featured in the game. However, I think this is such a missed opportunity, because these versions of the elites look so cool and personally so much better than the elites that we got. Here are some of the different ranks of the elites. So this is the Elite Ranger. So these are the kind of elites that serve as scouts and recon, as well as some of the EVA elites that we fight. This is an elite zealot, so as you can see, he has a helmet that covers more of his face, but also leaves his neck quite exposed, and he has this massive piece on his back. And then here we just have another version of an elite miner. This guy has a lot less armor. As you can see, his arms are bare, his neck is bare, and his lower chest is bare, sorry. So the lore reason behind why these elites look different is that they come from a different part of Sanghelios. So they are almost like a different race of Sangheli, for want of a better term. It's not the best reason, but it's just cool that there is an actual reason why they look different rather than just an art style difference. Again, I don't hate the elite armor and art style in Halo 4, but it is definitely my least favorite of the elites. And then this guy here is essentially this same elite here, but this one does not have his energy swords equipped, or maybe he just doesn't have them at all in this version. I really like this almost mechanized elite armor. It looks really, really cool, and would have maybe made for some very interesting mini bosses. Same with this elite and this elite. This one here is by far my favorite. It looks almost ethereal with the kind of white armor and the almost transparent glow that it has. But yeah, here are some more elites. So this is the Elite Storm. So this is I believe the name for the elite miner that is in Halo 4. This is the face of an elite in Halo 4. As you can see, it is quite different. His mandibles are in different positions, leaving his mouth fully exposed, whereas before the mandibles covered their mouths fully, unless when they actually spread their mandibles. His head and skull shape is a lot different. His eyes have these kind of almost deep set look compared to how they normally look on the games. And then here is just another version of the same elite that we saw. So it's called an Elite Storm. I actually did not know that was the class name. And since they are the Elite Miner equivalent, they have the blue armor. Here is the Elite Zealot. So the Elite Zealots in Halo 4 are not the Zealots that we are used to in previous Halo games. The Elite Zealots almost look very similar to the Elite Mages with their red armor. So the Elite Mages show up in all of the Halo games, Halo CE, 2, 3, and Reach. But yeah, still very, very cool. His helmet is a lot more decorative. It looks very similar to the Elite Ultra helmet in Halo Reach. And then this guy here looks like he is actually wearing an armor set very similar to Joule Mdama. So if we don't cover Joule in the Elite section, I will discuss him before we move forward. So this is, he is the man himself, Joule Mdama. So Joule Mdama is the leader of this splinter group of the Covenant. He is absolutely opposed to the Human Alliance, and in the Kilo 5 trilogy launches a full assault on Sanghelios against the Arbiter in the capital of Vadam. So Joule is very religious and takes his role very seriously as trying to bring the elites back to their glory days with the Covenant, while not falling under the Prophet's lies. He still believes in the general religion that humanity is essentially a pestilence, and needs to be wiped out. So he has this really cool armor set, and he has his arms bare, he has a bit of his legs bare, and some of his waist. He is also known as the Didact's Hand. That is a rank essentially given to him, or that he himself has taken, essentially saying that he is the second in command from the Didact, that he takes his orders straight from the Didact because he is so religious. Here we have some of the different faceplates for the elites. Really cool. This one in particular with these kind of side horns looks really cool. Again, none of these show up in the game, and again, it's just a massive shame. And then here are some more of the different elite designs that we have concept art for. Again, very different, but these look actually a lot more intimidating than the elites that we get in the game. It says the big take on tough for our black elite is that his armor would be pure black. This color variation is something that we haven't seen before with the Halo universe. His armor also features more ornamental pieces. I'm actually not sure if that's true, because I believe the Spec Ops elites in Halo Reach have black armor. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure it's either black or extremely dark purple, or maybe gray, but either way, a black elite concept is very cool, and again, does not make it into the game, unfortunately. Seeing all these concept arts for the elites just makes me very sad that we got the elites that we got. And there's more about Jul 'Mdama Dama I want to say, but I'm going to save that for the Halo 5 artbook video. Next up, we have the Ungoi. So the Ungoi maybe have the most different style compared to the previous Halo games. So, as you can see here, this is a Ungoi, or the Halo 4 Ungoi's face. So they have this kind of bulbous eyes with these massive jaws with these very interesting teeth. This is them as we see them with their different styles of their methane tanks and different types of helmets. So this is the standard grunt that we get in the game. This looks more like a Spec Ops grunt, and then this looks more like an EVA grunt. The grunts in this game do not have the mask that they were in previous games. They instead have a little nozzle that goes from the helmet into their nose. So, kind of cool, but at the same time, I wish we got to see the standard mask. This is almost what I was talking about here. Let me just zoom in a little bit. You can see that this has a little wire coming down. So this is that nozzle. So this would plug in to the Ungoi's nose to allow him to breathe as they need methane. And their tanks in this game are a lot more bulbous as opposed to the triangular design that we see in previous games. Up here, we have some versions of the Ungoi. These look much more similar to the Ungoi that we have seen in the previous games. They have their masks, the armor is very similar, and they have the triangular methane tanks. Here is another version of the grunts. I'm not sure if these are actually called Grunt Ultras, but this one has red armor, this one has a deep set purple armor, and then this one has a kind of black-gray scheme. So I'm assuming that these are different ranks going up from, you know, the blue minor to the major, and then maybe these are more of the zealot or whatever the actual name is. I'm not sure what it is. And then this is the unarmored Halo 4 grunt. So as you can see, their faces are a lot different compared to the faces that we see of the grunts in Halo 3 and in Halo Reach. They look a little bit more, I don't know what the right term is, very shrunken in faces compared to the faces that we saw previously, but they still have their massive forearms and legs as or that's just as their species has, which is quite cool, and I'm glad they at least kept that. I also just want to quickly mention this grunt here is absolutely jacked. He has a six-pack, which is so funny to me, seeing a grunt with a six-pack. So I just imagine that, you know, he's hitting the gym on board the Covenant ships. But yeah, so this is the Halo 4 Jackal. So colloquially known as jackals, the Kigia are primarily used as scouts, snipers, and temporary policing units. Perhaps more than any member of the Covenant, the Kigia have substantial variety within their species, landing somewhere between saurian and avian classifications by leading xenobiologists. So again, this is a vastly different art style to the jackals that we've seen before. The jackals that we have seen previously have a much more of an avian look to them, despite still being covered in skin and scales. And then these skirmishers that we see in Halo Reach are fully avian, with feathers and all. This jackal type looks much more reptilian. The jackals are almost meant to be a mixture of reptilian and avian design. And what is cool about the jackals in all of the Halo games is that all of the different jackals that we see throughout all of the Halo games are different races of jackal. So it's not that the art style is different, even though it is, it's that we are fighting different types of jackals. So this jackal that we fight in Halo 4 are called storm jackals. Here is some different arts style of the jackal. This guy has a lot more of an underbite and looks almost very reptilian, even more than this guy does. This is how we see them in the game. These ones here have a bit more of the avian look to them. They have a bit more of a beak and some of the more feathery bits on the back of them, whereas this one just has kind of spikes on the back of his head. Really cool. We see some different designs here. So this is an unarmored jackal. This is the EVA jackal. This is the jackal sniper. This is the standard jackal. And I don't know what this jackal is. I don't believe this jackal made it into the game. Here's another version of the unarmored jackal, and then here is just some pictures of his torso and arms, which is so cool. Seeing the Covenant anatomy is just something that really interests me as a Halo fan. So this is the Flood in Halo 4. Now the Flood do not actually appear in the campaign. They only appear in the Halo 4 Infected game type. And they are meant to be Flood Spartans, which is terrifying if you think about the implications. So the design is not the best. They essentially just look like humans with a slightly disfigured jaw and one disfigured arm. I really wish that they made the Flood a little bit more Flood-like, like maybe having an infection form popping out of his face instead of the one that we got. And then here's just some more concept art of that. This one here looks really cool, as you can see that the skull is actually showing for this one. So again, it's not bad, but I just wish that we got a little bit more to make it look like this is something that has been fully consumed by the Flood versus almost just like something that might be like a mutation. He almost looks like he's gone through radiation rather than being infected by the Flood parasite. Here are some of the Covenant weapons that we see in the game. So here is the Storm Rifle. So this is the replacement to the Plasma Rifle and the Plasma Repeater. The Plasma Rifle has been in all of the Halo games, and the Plasma Repeater is in Halo Reach. This serves the same function. It fires a rapid fire of blue plasma bolts. However, the storm rifle is actually a lot more powerful. Whereas something like the plasma rifle is great for stripping shields, but not great at actually killing enemies, the storm rifle is very good at both. So it is very good, and if you have played the Halo 4 multiplayer, the storm rifle is so powerful if you choose to equip this as your loadout. Its only drawback is its range is quite limited. Then here we have the Covenant Carbine. So this is my favorite Covenant weapon. I absolutely adore the Carbine. It's so cool. Its ammo is quite cool as it's not actually plasma, and like I said, its design and ammo counter are quite cool. We see some different variations of the Carbine. So this is the Carbine that we see in the game. This one here looks the most like the Carbine that we know for the concept art. And then these two here look like maybe more of a close quarters design. Whereas this one and this one almost look like sniper variations of it, which is quite cool. It would have been interesting to have different versions of the Carbine. I know it would not be practical to have different versions of the same weapon, but I just think that would be cool. I'm always a fan of having multiple variations of the same weapon in different games. I know it's not always the case, but the idea to me is always quite cool. So here is some of the Covenant vehicles. So this is the Banshee, as we see in Halo 4. Lots of different concept arts of the Banshee, so we're not going to go over each and every one. So this one, some of them up here are the more Banshee types that we see in the game, whereas these four are completely foreign to the Banshee design, which is very cool. These almost look like maybe the space versions of the Banshees. This one here is a lot more like rigid, bare bones, and angular. And then this one is very interesting. This one actually looks like a ghost with legs. So maybe this could have been a Banshee that then could land and be used as a ground vehicle. I'm just spitballing here, so if I'm wrong, I apologize. These two here look like the Space Banshees from Halo 4. This one here is probably the most foreign looking one. This actually looks more like the Spirit dropship. And yeah, then there's some more concept arts here. This is the Lich. So this is another type of Covenant ship. It's a bit more advanced than a Phantom. However, it's kind of serves the same goal as a much more armored Covenant dropship that can hold a lot more troops. And in one of the missions, the mission with the Mammoth, we are tasked with infiltrating one of these things and destroying it from the inside out, which is such a cool sequence of taking out the guard and then taking the grav lift into the ship and then destroying it from the inside. So that is it for the Covenant section. Now we are on to the Forerunner section. So the Forerunner enemies first made their debut in Halo 4, and lots of different opinions about these guys. I am okay with them, to be honest. They're not my favorite, but I don't hate them. So we start off with Forerunner characters. It says we wanted to play around with the idea of a secret twist within the Promethean Knights. And here's our first exploration of the face-splitting revelation across the page, is our idea of how a soul inside the Knight might reappear after being defeated. So what it means by the soul is all of the Forerunner enemies that we fight, so the Watcher, the Crawler, and the Knight, are all transposed humans. So these have been transposed by the Didact ship in eras past and have then been essentially reanimated into these mechanical bodies to serve the Forerunners as soldiers against the Flood, since the Flood would not be able to infect them. So here we have some different depictions of the Librarian. She is one of the most important Forerunner characters in the Halo universe. I really like these versions of her. These ones are how she appears in the game, basically. But she looks a lot more angelic in these ones, which I think is very, very cool. Here we have some ideas of maybe how, as it said over here, of how the soul would leave a knight's body after you defeat it. So you can see this knight has fallen to its knees, presumably being killed, and then this is the soul of the human kind of leaving it. Here are some different versions of some of the different knights, as well as concept arts for the knights. And then here are some more concept arts of different types of knights that do not appear in the game. These ones look a lot more heavy duty, and this one here has a tail, which is actually quite cool. Sorry, is there anything? Okay, I'll get to that in a second. So here are some of the designs of just the Forerunners. So these are not Forerunners or Forerunner enemies that we fight in the game, but some of them appear, some of them do not. So we have the Librarian here, then we have the Didact, then we have just some different Forerunners. So I'm assuming these should be assistants or similar stations to the Librarian. This Forerunner here looks very similar to the Didact. Maybe this actually might be Bornstellar, if you've read the Forerunner trilogy, or aka the Proto-Didact, but it's not quite sure, and it's nothing here confirms it, but just based on the height and the color of the armor, it kind of makes sense. These three here just appear to be different types of Forerunners. I'm assuming that these are Builder class Forerunners. And then over here, we have a very important character. So this is a Forerunner named Faber. So Faber is the one who built most of the Forerunner installations that we've come across in the series. He is the master builder. So in the same way, the Didact is the head of the militant branch of the Forerunners, Faber is the head of the building aspect. So he built the Halo rings, he built the Ark, he built the Shield worlds, and is an extremely gifted man. I believe he also built Mendicant Bias and then Offensive Bias, but I might be wrong about that, and if I am, I do apologize. So here we have some more of the knights that we see. So this is the standard knight that we come across here. So the knights are equipped with a firearm in their right hand and a blade in their left hand. So making them quite deadly both at range and at close quarters. They start off with this blue appearance, but then after the Didact awakens, they get this red appearance. Here we have some of the different types of knights that we come across. So the knights are armed with essentially every type of Forerunner weapon. So I believe this one here is the Scattershot variant, or maybe this is the Scattershot variant, I'm not quite sure. The standard knight just has I believe it's the repulsor weapon, which is essentially the Forerunner assault rifle. Then we also have a knight that has the incinerator cannon, which is an extremely powerful weapon, probably the most powerful weapon in Halo 4. And if you've played Halo 4 on Legendary, you know how awful these guys are. And if that's not bad enough, then we also have the knight with the binary rifle. So these guys are essentially Jackal snipers, but a lot tankier, but are also able to completely one-shot you. Again, on Legendary, these guys are the bane of my existence. Up here is a Forerunner. Oh, sorry, I keep saying Forerunner. This is a knight, but we see that there is a bit of a human in him. So there's the head here and the 2 arms. So kind of a cool idea, but also he has this tentacle coming off here. So maybe this might have been a flood corrupted Forerunner or knight. And then actually, yes, that is what this is, because there are some flood corrupted knights up here. Let me zoom in so you guys can see. So yeah, here they are here. Also, I'm sorry, I know I keep calling the knights Forerunners. They are Forerunner warriors, but they are not Forerunners. They are Forerunner constructs. So next we have the Watcher. So the Watcher is the flying variant of the Forerunner enemies. So these guys tend to hover around knights. They can give them shields, and they can deflect grenades that you throw at them. These guys are what you want to pick off before you actually fight the knight. And the reason for that is knights are able to spawn Watchers. So to try and deal with them at a range where you can throw grenades and shoot them from afar without having to worry about the grenades disappearing or shields being put in front of you, you want to take out the Watchers first. What is very kind of uncanny about the Watchers in the game is they have this almost small little human face to them, which is quite unsettling to look at. Here are some early concept arts of the Watchers, so we see some of the designs they went through. They all look very different to what we got in game. I personally like the Watcher that we did end up getting in game. Here is a depiction of a knight spawning a Watcher, so the Watcher comes out of the knight's back. And then here we have the Crawler. So the Crawler is the dog type enemy, or the enemy on all fours. They are fairly easy to kill. They are one shot if you hit them in the head, but they are also equipped with all sorts of weapons, including the binary rifle, which is the Forerunner sniper rifle, which will one-shot you to the body. So these guys are very fast, very agile. They can jump on walls and ceilings. So if one of these guys has a binary rifle, it is a very bad time. And then here we have some more designs of the type of quadruped Forerunner. So very cool. Here we have the Didact. So the Didact is the main villain in Halo 4. This is him in his armor, which is so cool. I really like his armor. It gives off this really imposing look and makes him look like the Forerunner general that he is. So here is a depiction of the Didact's face as we see him in the game. But then we also have these versions here, which are concept arts of his different faces. This one here looks completely alien, whereas this one here looks very human. And then this one here is almost like a little mixture of both. But I really like the design of the Forerunners in the game. They look similar to humans enough, but still being very noticeably alien and kind of give you a very uncanny feeling. So here is again another depiction of the Didact in his armor as well as his face. It has that blender look that I was talking about. Really cool, and getting to see these is actually one of the joys of going through this book. So next up we have the Cryptum. So the Cryptum is where the Didact was being held. He was essentially imprisoned by the Forerunners for his crimes against humanity, and was imprisoned in here, which is why he is still alive despite all of the other Forerunners having died off when they launched the when they activated the Halo wings. So it is a quite cool design ship. It's essentially just this floating ball, and it moves very fast in all directions, and is, like I said, an extremely interesting and extremely cool design for a ship. Next up, we have some of the Forerunner weapons. So we start off with the Suppressor. This is the weapon that I meant to say earlier. I believe I called it like I can't remember what I called it, but this is the weapon that is the Forerunner assault rifle. It's basically the fully automatic Forerunner weapon. It's not the best, but it's not the worst either. It's on legendary though, it's essentially useless. Here is the incinerator cannon. So this is the Forerunner rocket launcher. This thing is so powerful. It is great against vehicles of all types. If it will one-shot any vehicle, essentially. This is the light rifle. The binary rifle, which is the Forerunner sniper rifle. Like I said, it has very limited ammo, but it is capable of one-shotting a Spartan in multiplayer, even to the body, and one or two-shotting a Forerunner Knight, even on legendary. So very powerful weapon. You always want to try and pick these up when you can. This is the light rifle. So the light rifle is the Forerunner precision weapon. Very good weapon, and probably my favorite Forerunner weapon. What's interesting about the light rifle is when you shoot it without scoping in, it shoots a 3-round burst. However, when you scope in, it shoots a single round, but that single round has the power of all 3 bursts. So you almost want to make the decision of what you want to use, because if you scope in, while it fires one shot and does the damage of the 3-round burst, that single shot still counts as 3 rounds of ammo. So it's very easy to burn through ammo when you're scoped in. This is the scatter shot. So this is the Forerunner shotgun. Not really much to say about this. It's just another version of the shotgun. It's as powerful, if not maybe a little bit more than the human shotgun. And then this is the bolt shot. So the bolt shot is the Forerunner pistol. It fires a rapid fire single shot shot. But you are also able to charge it up similar to how you can with the plasma pistol. However, with a plasma pistol's charged shot causes an EMP and drains shields. The bolt shot charged up acts as a shotgun. So you essentially get a little pocket shotgun, which is amazing for multiplayer. You can essentially have like a little shotgun in your back pocket, and in multiplayer this will one-hit enemy Spartans. So very powerful. Here are some of the Forerunner defensive cannons that we come across. And then here are some of the Forerunner turrets, which we see in some of the later levels. Very important that we take these out when we can from a distance, because they will annihilate you if they get the chance. Here is a Forerunner weapons cache. This is some of the power units that we see in the game, as well as this one here. This is one of the objectives where we have to get to go over to this activate a portal to access the next level. And then here's some concept art of some of these power units. This is the Forerunner defenses. So this is some of the different types of defenses, like I said, from ships to turrets and much more. Very cool. I'm not sure what this concept art is actually meant to represent for the final product in the game, or if any of these even made it into the game, but nonetheless they look quite cool. And then here we have a couple of different things. So we have the Mantle's approach. So this is the Didact's other ship. This is his main ship. The Cryptum is the place he was imprisoned in, but also serves as a ship. This is his main ship, which has the composing cannon on it. The composing cannon essentially transforms humans. It melts them into ash. Disintegrates them into ash, and then they get repurposed into Forerunner constructs, such as knights watchers, and crawlers. So the Didact gets on his ship and makes a beeline to Earth to finish off humanity, and our goal is to stop him. And at the final mission, we end up boarding his ship, which is very cool on a very, very good level. His ship is a really cool design. It really showcases the Forerunner architecture for their ships, as well as their weapon superiority with the composer cannon, as it is so powerful. It does manage to actually shoot Earth for a very long time, causing massive damage. I can't remember which part of the planet it actually hits. I believe it's somewhere near Australia, which is one of the UNSC headquarters. Like a lot of the UNSC official bases are in Australia. Like the ONI headquarters is in Australia. And then here we have some of the types of Forerunner ships, from the Cryptum to the Mantle's approach. And then this is just another concept art version of the Mantle's approach. So guys, that is going to do it for part 1 of this video. In part 2, we will be covering the environments of Halo 4, as well as some of the multiplayer environments. So thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video. I just want to give a quick shout out to my 2 Patreon subscribers. So thank you, Slice of Life for Life, and thank you, Mary the Otaku. Your patronage means the world to me, as well as everyone's viewership also means the world to me. So again, thank you so much for watching. My name has been Crimson, and I will see you guys in the next video. Have a good evening, and I'll see you guys in the next one.